Designing for accessibility. It sounds complicated, and maybe it is, but it's really just common sense, and it's something that could help everyone. Carol, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your organization is, and we'll have a talk about autonomous vehicles and accessibility.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Carol Wright Kenderdine, and I'm with the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center. It's a technical assistance center that is funded by the Federal Transit Administration. It is a partnership between Easter Seals and the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging. But what our focus is on making sure that transportation of all kinds is available for people with disabilities and older adults and their caregivers. But in essence, what that means is if we do a good job of making sure that transportation is available for the people that I just mentioned, then it's transportation that truly is accessible for all people.
And right now, I mean, you have things like Paratransit, and it is very expensive for transit agencies to fulfill this need, right?
Absolutely. Well, and we work with transit agencies all across the country, and we do this on a day in and day out basis by providing them with resources and helping them understand how to make their systems more accessible. Paratransit's just one of the options. We're trying to make all options available so that people have choices, because the more choices they have, then the more flexibility they have, and they can get where they need to go when they need to get there. When you and I want to go somewhere, we don't look 24 hours in advance and say, I think I'm going to want to go to the grocery store tomorrow night. We know that we can just hop in our own vehicles, but that's not true for everyone. And so the idea is the more accessible options we have, the more choice we give to people.
And so what are you seeing as far as, we were just talking about sharing vehicles and so forth. What sort of things should manufacturers, should service providers be doing to enhance accessibility?
Well, it's real exciting as we look forward to the future and we talk about autonomous vehicles, because as we look at autonomous vehicles and we talk about what the future might hold for people, it's more important than ever that we look at some of the design elements. And as we look at the design elements, if we start now at the beginning, and of course we're not at the beginning, but if we're starting right now to look at what would make those vehicles accessible to all people. And when we look at that, then we can look at the people who would most benefit from the features of an autonomous vehicle, and that's older adults that have been put in the position of needing to give up the keys and can no longer drive, or people with disabilities who've never had the ability to be able to necessarily drive their own vehicle, whether it's an acquired injury or something that they were born with. And so if we can go to those groups and we can say, what features would really make it this kind of transportation available to you? What would you like to see in the design of a vehicle? And we call that universal design, because then with their input, the manufacturers, the people who are designing the tech end of things, can make these vehicles so that they can fit the needs of all people, and especially those that are older adults or people with disabilities.
Is the industry hearing that message is important?
Well, we're trying. There were a couple of sessions at this year's conference that were devoted to that particular issue, and we want to get that message out, because if we can reach it at this stage in the development process, then it can be developed just as a natural ongoing part of what happens with autonomous vehicles. If we wait and we have to retrofit, then we're doing what we did with the automobile. The Americans with Disabilities Act came about in 1990, and that assured accessibility for all people for the last almost 30 years. We don't want that to get left behind when we enter this whole new era that really holds promise for not only increased accessibility, but increased quality of life.
Well, it seems like there's definitely an opportunity with the way you can you have new form factors you can create now, right?
Absolutely. And there are all kinds of options that are out there for people. And if we can take advantage of what's there and the knowledge that we've learned over all these years in terms of just transporting people on public transit, we can take advantage of all of those lessons learned and apply them to this new industry and all of these new possibilities. I think it can make all the difference in the world.
Excellent. Well, Carol, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.